Hi and welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah. I'm here with Knitting Natter to help you learn to knit the easy way. Today we're looking at the right side and the wrong side of knitting, and I want to show you how you can appreciate both and either and really enjoy what you're knitting and look at the textures as neither right or wrong. Right, so let's have a look then. What I've continued knitting all the way up here, I cast on and I did a large rib. So that's nice and fat rib. You can see how the stitches change along there. And then what I'm going to do is change from this colour that I've used for the rib, this lovely teal-y colour, and I'm going to go in to start using this charcoal. So I've got enough yarn there, and what I'm going to do is knit this first row. So changing colours is quite simple, especially if you know you've got a seam and you can weave the ends into that. So I'm just going to start knitting. These first stitches might be a bit loose, but I will sort that out in a minute. As I go along this row, you'll see what happens. Now, for the rib, I've cast on with the cable cast on, and I have done an odd number of rows for the rib. When you are knitting, you can sometimes use the cast on as a guide to whether you are, quote, on the right side or the wrong side of your knitting. It's just an aesthetic and it's one person's choice over another. I have knitted most of this row now. We've knitted almost half of it. So let me show you what the transition looks like. There you go. So if you look at the cast on here, it has a very smooth edge to it. If I turn it over, it's got the ribbed edge, and that doesn't quite match this ribbed effect here. On that smoother side of the knitting, it's got a rib. You can see more of the yarn as I've cast on there. That looks a lot smoother across both the knitting and the purling along the bottom. So this is what I would call my right side. Now, up here, I am making a feature of this. A lot of times when you change colour in patterns, you would hide this effect. You would hide it because you didn't want anyone to see it. It was a change in colour. It's distracting for the eye once you've finished knitting the stripes. I really like this. I think this proves that we can really appreciate what we're knitting. We can appreciate how the colour changes, and once in a while, it's just making that little bit different. We can see the charcoal and the teal as I've knitted along this row. So what's facing me now is, quote, the wrong side, because even though this transition along this side looks really smooth, I actually figured when I was creating this pattern that I wanted to make a feature as I changed colour. So let me finish knitting this row. There you are. You can't see the transition, it just happens. It's nothing to speak of, it's just one colour changing to another. And as I continue knitting, you'll see even more that it actually works really well. So this purl row has actually made it stand out more because we can see more of the charcoal. So the changing colour is even more obvious, and I really like that. Now, one thing you can do with this, just as I've done in this pattern where you can see the photo that goes with it, is use a brighter colour and a neutral colour. Especially if you're knitting for boys, I do find that lots of bright colours can really put them off from even wanting the hat. So what I've chosen here is a charcoal grey and then a muted teal colour for the rib. And I would really suggest that's a good thing to focus on if you're knitting something like this. Just choose the neutral and then choose a brighter colour that will contrast with it. Works really well. So there you go. Now, most people would describe this as the wrong side of the knitting, but in this case, I'm deciding it is the right side. And in a lot of cases, you have to read what the pattern says. It will be the pattern that dictates whether it's the right or the wrong side. So let me know, do you like this effect? Do you want this to happen in your knitting? Do you want to be able to see the stripes sometime, how the colour transitions? Or do you prefer it to be smoother transition like this that we have here? It does look nice, but I must say I prefer that. Well, if you like this pattern, it is available on my website. It is the Boys to Men two-tone beanie, and you can see it's got the pom-pom right at the top there. I'm going to carry on knitting this now, and I will see you next week. Do go along to knitwithhannah.co.uk and you can find this pattern for yourself. I'd love to see any photos of it. You can send me an email with it. You can join me on the Facebook group. Okay then, bye for now. Thanks very much for joining me. Happy knitting.